Hello, Urban America students. This is Professor Tim White, and I'm preparing this video for Thursday, September 7th. I will try to do this in one take, and we'll see how we do. The purpose of this video is to introduce myself, the web blended model for this 300 level history course, and then to go over the syllabus. It's an important ritual because each professor has different expectations. So I'm very much glad to really go through it line by line and carefully explain what is expected of you in this history course. A little bit about me. I joined NJCU in 2009 and I have been teaching Urban America every few semesters since then. It is at the core of my training, and in my research I write about cities. So I'm very glad that you decided to enroll in Urban America, either because you cared also about cities or because you liked the web blended convenience. Let me say a few words about web blended. This is a model that NJCU is embracing along with the entirely online. We find this is easier for students who have busy work schedules. Maybe you are commuting a long distance, and we want to make the educational experience as convenient as possible for you. Some students enjoy being able to go to class, speak with a professor, and meet the other students in person. And so rather than going entirely online, this course gives you the opportunity to meet with me face-to-face, meet with the other students, show up on the schedule in the classroom, but also get some of the work done and the learning done from the comfort of your home or library or coffee shop or wherever you're listening to this video. So please, if you've never taken a web blended course before, please trust that we will take care of you. I will send you the links as needed. Everything will be spelled out on Blackboard, and I'm always available to you via email at twhite@njcu.edu in case you need help. So if this is new to you, I have done it before, in fact, for this very class, for Urban America. And I can guarantee you that every student figures out what to do next. And even though we are not meeting in person until the 21st of September, due to some scheduling things on my end, you will get in the groove with this class, I promise. So let's begin. I have printed out a copy of the syllabus, and you can follow along with a digital copy or print it out at home. There are a few key things that I need to emphasize, and you can fast forward if you have me for 2 classes. You've already heard this. You can pause. That's one of the benefits of taking an online course. And I'd like to just emphasize my availability to you on this box here at the top of the syllabus. I, like most of you, have a smartphone, and I get my email on my smartphone. So if you need help, if you have questions, I will answer you. My goal is to answer you within 24 hours. If I miss an email or you haven't heard back from me, please follow up professionally. Just mention that you did send an email, you're hoping for a response. Let me know when I can, that sort of thing, and I will definitely get back to you. If you want to meet face-to-face, I'm available in the office hours. So I've got 2 hours on Wednesday afternoon, 1 to 3, and then 3 hours on Thursday afternoon, 1 to 4. You can also call me at my office in the number listed in the syllabus and get me on the phone during those hours. If you don't want to drive, if you don't want to take the light rail, if you just want to speak to me about your paper, about the course, please take advantage of my availability. In the course description, you're going to see very quickly that this course begins with Native Americans. Native Americans in the United States, or what would become the United States, are not particularly well known as urban people. They lived nomadic lives. Most of the tribes were quite nimble about moving around to harvest crops and hunt and fish in the spots they needed to visit. So they're not a predominantly urban civilization. However, in the textbook and in the online module that I'm creating for next Thursday evening, you will see that Native Americans did get it done. And our case study to show you the extent of Native American urban history is in Cahokia in Illinois. a location which had a wide trading network. There was a lot of regional and even national trade going across from sea to shining sea, and residing within the trading center of Cahokia, Illinois. There was also a large pyramid mound, which is currently covered over in grass, and you could actually go visit it, walk over the mound over your Thanksgiving break if you really wanted to. So we'll begin with the Native Americans, but very quickly we will get to the colonial era. This is a time when the English, the Dutch, the French, the Spaniards, they are setting up cities in the territories which would become the United States. And there is a special relationship between the cities and colonization, especially when it comes to seaports. Everything was being done through transatlantic boats, and they need a safe harbor. So the physical characteristics of a harbor, such as Charleston, Boston, or New York, will make a profound difference in the future of the United States, where our people are located and how different cities rise up to become important. So this will be something we develop through the reading, through our discussions, and if you are interested in colonial history, we will get a healthy dose of that, as you'll see in the course description. The next big phase or chapter is, of course, the American Revolution. The American Revolution, the founding experience of our country, had an urban angle. There are some scholars who have argued, not me, but before me, some of the greats, the men and women of urban history, have argued that the cities on the Atlantic coast, especially Boston and New York, were, as they call them, the urban crucible of the American Revolution. Meaning, like a crucible, a hot location where you could melt down steel if you wanted. They burned hot with the passions of the American Revolution. The idea of the urban crucible is that people got together, they bounced around, they bounced their ideas around, and the revolution ran a little bit hotter in the cities, where people exchanged ideas, stockpiled weapons, got together, threw some tea into the harbor, burned tax collectors in effigy. And this aspect of urban America is what we will explore the most in our analysis of the American Revolution. Next up is the 19th century. The 19th century is fascinating. This is when America came of age. This is when we got our railroads, our industry. This is when we expanded from just an eastern seaboard nation all the way across through the epic Louisiana Purchase on over to California, Washington, and Oregon. With the Mexican-American War and the expansion of the United States, we eventually do get from sea to shining sea. Cities were, in many cases, in the driver's seat as this history unfolded. Not entirely. We have a lot of agriculture, a lot of mining, but I want you to understand that in the 19th century, cities are impacting the United States and shaping the United States in ways far different than what happened in East Asia or Europe or Latin America. We did truly have our American experience, especially when it comes to railroad cities and industrial cities. Railroad cities like Chicago or industrial cities like Pittsburgh. So this will be a major focus of our 19th century, looking at industry, railroads, and the expansion of the American economy. We will also look at immigration. The 19th century was a century of immigration. It was a pretty epic time in which the people who were living in the United States simply changed. We have Old English, Dutch, and French heritage, but to that we add a massive, massive influx of Irish and German immigrants. In the 1840s through the 1860s, Irish and German immigrants are filling cities like Boston, but also cities like Chicago and even Denver and San Francisco. There are a lot of cities that benefit from population growth through the immigration out of Europe. Later on, as we get towards Ellis Island, which opens in the 1890s, we will get the famous wave of Eastern European immigrants, Jewish immigrants, and Russians, also Italians. These are the groups that make a different kind of immigration in the late 19th century, all the way through to the early 20th, when we still have big numbers up until World War I. So those are some of the 19th century topics. One more that I think will be a little bit interesting, hopefully, to those of you, maybe if you're interested in a career in police work or criminal justice, if you want to be a detective or work for the government, you may be very concerned about the murderous disorder of the 19th century city. We will be talking about murder, prostitution, opium dens, all sorts of bootleg liquor, and all of the things in the 19th century that are a bit shocking. In fact, in the PDF readings, there are 3 special PDFs which I have curated for this course. You will read one in particular about a serial killer who, in the midst of the World's Fair, is taking out single women in Chicago. It's really quite shocking stuff, and from the textbook to our classroom discussions to the online stuff, and then there's also this PDF, you're going to get a lot of blood and gore and guts and brawls. It's going to be interesting stuff. So murderous disorder in the 19th century will be quite a feature, along with some of the aspects of the 19th century that build for the future. Just as we are seeing gang members knifing each other in the streets, we get tremendous infrastructure in the 19th century. There are a lot of cities, especially Philadelphia, New York City, that invest in clean drinking water systems. And the reservoir and aqueduct systems that go into making these cities safe are key to their success. A lot of work is done on dams and aqueducts, modernizing the cities for sanitation purposes, for clean drinking water. And this is why we do not have our cities overrun with disease outbreaks that destroy them. So as you add massive amounts of immigrants in the 19th century, you do have the sad consequences of murder and chaos, but you also have some very well thought out solutions to masses of people arriving in the city. So that's the 19th century, and now in the course description, you'll see more in the 20th about automobiles. Automobiles will absolutely revolutionize American cities, and we have all semester to do this, so I won't go on too long about the automobile in the city, but I will say that there was a type of city prior to the automobile that was built around perhaps a railroad hub. It was called the walking city. And you could pretty much get everything you needed from shopping to social life within a 20-minute walk. This is not on the menu in the age of the automobile. The automobile muscles in American cities far beyond the way it does in other cultures. We are enamored of the automobile. People in the early 20th century believe that the automobile is literally the wave of the future, and that we will all be better for getting in our cars. So we remake our cities, we demolish neighborhoods, we build highways, we build a massive federal highway system, and this has profound consequences on the way cities work, on which cities rise and fall, and the quality of life and experience of people who live in cities. This leads directly into something that we call the urban crisis. After World War II, we have spent so much money and time and cultural capital on our automobiles and our highways that the city centers become neglected. City centers suffer from population loss. They suffer from declining tax revenue. City services go down, then more people leave because the city kind of sucks. And the buses start to run a little slower, and the garbage pickup is less frequent, and then more people leave, and then fewer people pay taxes. And this snowball effect had dire consequences in places like the Bronx, in places like Boston, in Los Angeles, in Dallas. You have people in the inner city who are living in a rough environment, even as the suburbs are going great. A lot of people are investing in suburbs, moving out to the suburbs. And what I will say just very quickly about this age of the automobile, which I hope will really wake you up and get you engaged in urban America. There was a time right after World War II, I kid you not, seriously, you guys, when it was more affordable to have a mortgage in Long Island than to pay rent in Lower Manhattan for like a crappy apartment. So people are able to pay a mortgage on a single family house, like a cute little 3-bedroom house with a garage at Levittown, and that cost is less than a crowded 2-bedroom apartment in the Lower East Side. That is some major change to US cities. Last but not least, in the course description, you're going to be reading about forces of decentralization and what we call the edge city or sprawl. And these topics are about the suburbs kind of on steroids. The suburbs getting so dominant that we now have shopping malls, strip malls, and shopping centers and housing tracts spreading out as far as you can go, and there is no center any longer. There is no town center. People don't quite know where the center of town is. And as people live these lives and invest in these communities, the traffic problems simply multiply because everywhere you need to go from school to work to shopping requires a trip in the car. So this is kind of the last chapter of Urban America where we come to the more recent present and we see the environment in which we live. Some of you are literally in this class, so you don't have to fight traffic every week, just every other week, more or less. So it will, I hope, ring true for you. I hope that it will connect to your lives. And I will now go on to the learning outcomes for Professor White's Urban America. These are very much what I hope you would expect to see. Many of you are training to be teachers, I think, and so you need to design your course with the learning outcomes in mind. One thing I'll say about these is that you are expected to analyze, to compare, and to interpret. These bubbles down here are about using your critical thinking skills and making sure that you are doing far more than simply memorization. And what I'll say here is that you need to understand the material in order to do well on my exams. You will be given a midterm and a final. You will also be doing a 5-page research paper. In all of these assignments, you need to be analyzing urban America. It is very important that you are thinking about how the cities compare to one another and that you are doing a deeper analysis of each city that we study and each decade and century that we study. So you cannot just memorize. You have to read. You have to discuss. And then you will get to analysis through that process. So that's the idea of this upper level history course in terms of learning outcomes. Moving on, readings. I sent out via email, and you all should hopefully have The Evolution of American Urban Society. I mistakenly said The Evolution of American Urban History in one of my emails, but ignore that. It's called The Evolution of American Urban Society. Make sure to get the 8th edition. 8th edition. Make sure that is the paperback because it would be far too expensive. And then you can rest assured that the rest of the readings, the PDF readings, are quite brief. They are excerpts and they are free. So you only purchase the one at the bookstore and then you can get all of these on Blackboard for free. This will round out some of the voices, some of the perspectives, and help you to get a little taste of other readings from different decades, I guess. Now the grade breakdown. Participation will include our 2 discussions. It will include all of your attendance, all of your participation in the Blackboard discussions when you're posting things online, when you're confirming to me that you've seen the videos. Then we have the midterm, the paper, and the final. So it's broken up to spread out your efforts. You have room if you make a misstep to make up some of your grade elsewhere. And if you have any questions on my grading structure, please let me know. The schedule for this class is very important because there will be some days, such as today, when I literally will not be there. I'll be online, I'll be checking in, but I will not be in the classroom. You shouldn't be there either. If you must, you could go, I guess, and like sit in the classroom and turn on your laptop, but it's not necessary. You can do this from home. The idea is to make this convenient. So look very carefully at the schedule. There are 2 onlines. There is this one, and then there is the next one on the 14th. Then we have a regular off-on class and online rhythm, followed by double classroom meetings to accommodate the discussion in November. So it's a little bit different than what the registrar says, but I've been texting you, emailing you. Hopefully everybody got the memo on the schedule. On this side, you see in italics the readings that are due, and if you do these readings in order, you will always know what's going on in class. You will always know what I'm talking about when I post a question in the Blackboard discussion. So pace yourself so that the readings do not pile up and you're stuck with all of them prior to the midterm. The midterm happens in the classroom. It's a regular sit-down, closed book midterm on the 19th of October. So you have until the 19th to get all this material ready. We also have an important in-class discussion on the 5th of October. You'll see all of this clearly marked out in the syllabus. The next big date is discussion 2 on the 16th, and then don't forget as well that I need to approve your paper topics. Paper topics are a very delicate thing. Sometimes students go a little too broad, sometimes too narrow. I will help you to shape your paper topics, so please stay in touch with me and get that done by the 2nd of November. That's marked in bold. Discussion 2 is marked in bold. That's an in-person. And then we have another in-person on the 30th of November so that you can hand in your lovely 5-page papers. This is important that you get your topic approved so you can be ready to hand that in after Thanksgiving. Last but not least, we will meet definitely in person, not online, for the final exam on Thursday, the 14th of December. Okay, moving on. Suggested films. Cities are very filmic, scenic places, and there are many, many films, great documents of American history that not only portray the city, tell a story about an American city, but in the best cases, they are filmed on location. And if you're wondering what it would have been like to be in New York in the 1950s, maybe you can watch one of Professor White's favorite movies, Sweet Smell of Success. If you're wondering what it would be like to live in South Central Los Angeles in the 1980s, you can watch Do the Right Thing. There's so many, Boys in the Hood, excuse me. Brooklyn, Do the Right Thing, Boys in the Hood, Los Angeles. There are so many places and spaces featured in these films. I spread this around to include Chicago, LA, New York. This is just the tip of the iceberg. And you can reference these in your research for your papers. You can bring them up in the discussions. And there may be films, if people start to see particular films where I'm going to request, okay guys, I need you to go out and watch this movie because we're discussing it on the Blackboard. So this is something that I think is particularly useful for an Urban America class, and this is a feature of Urban America that you probably haven't seen in my other history classes, any of you who have had me before. So think of movies as your sources. If you go from this recommended list, I have many others that I can recommend to you. There's a lovely picture of sprawling Los Angeles, city of the automobile, and then the always scintillating course policies. I will mention that I do keep track in the classroom and then online who is engaging, who is participating. So you need to post your comments if we're meeting online. You need to show up if we're meeting in person. And then in the midterm case, you really, really need to be there. Please don't mess with a makeup midterm request because this means that I have to write you your own special midterm. You won't get the same midterm that everybody else got. So I have to literally sit down and write another midterm and make sure you have time to take the midterm. It's a lot. It's really just no, don't do it. Don't do it. No makeup midterm requests. Everybody be there. And the final, there's no way to make up a final where I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to be going to California. So you got to be there. The 5-page paper has a specific due date, and if you miss it, it's 2 points per day. Please be mindful. I want that paper in on the day it's due. I want it stapled. I want it with all of your sources and research printed out in the bibliography, and I'm very happy to help you get that right. Plagiarism, this is something that I must emphasize, and it is very easy to avoid. If you are submitting a paper in which all the sentences are your own, and you wrote those sentences, then you're good to go. The only way that a sentence should appear in your paper that you didn't write is if it is in quotes. So this is a pretty clear way forward for you to be safe from plagiarism. If you have any special accommodations needed, if you have a veteran's status or a disability, you can work with the offices at NGCU. We have a really nice support system out of student affairs. You can get counseling, you can go to academic skills workshops. Please take advantage of all the resources that your tuition pays for, and know that I too am here to help. I can make referrals to the right office to get you the help you need in whatever category. So that is your syllabus review. I'm going to sign off on this video, and I'll just emphasize the 4 tasks that you need to complete to be ready and done with this week's class, so to speak. The first one you just completed. Watch this video. Pay attention, know the syllabus, know the course, so you can check off number 1, the syllabus review. The second one is a My Urban America writing piece, which you'll see on the blackboard. I'll post the prompt, and I want everyone to complete this and email it to me no later than Tuesday, September 12th at 5 p.m. That should be the right date, September 12th. Hold on. Wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah, it's the 12th. Good times. So when you see this writing prompt, it's ungraded, but I want to know the cities that have been part of your lives, the cities that you are fascinated by, the cities that you have hated or wondered about, and this will help me to shape the course and make it interesting to you. So it's an important exercise for me to get to know you a little better. Please complete your My Urban America and email it to me, twhite@njcu.edu, no later than Tuesday the 12th at 5 p.m. So you can check that one off. That's 2. Number 3 is a key concepts video, which will be very similar to this, and I will go over some of the key ways that you should begin thinking about cities in the United States. Last but not least, the discussion. The discussion will be a series of questions, and when you log in, you click on the question, you can see what I pose, and then the answers that are beginning to trickle in from your fellow students. Read what I say, read what they say, and make your own contribution. The idea here is I would like some back and forth, and this is mostly about our assumptions of cities, our knowledge of cities, and where we think we're going to go with each of these different centuries in analyzing urban America. So it's kind of a broad opening discussion to get you thinking, and I will very much be reading your comments and responding to you and keeping track of who's really taking it seriously, who's participating. I will close the discussion on Tuesday, September 12th at 5 p.m. This gives me a little time to just process everything we did for the first week and get everything ready for the second week, which will begin next Thursday evening. So that is number 4. Just go in, read the questions, think about them, and post some comments. That will get you through the first class. It's an online module. It's spread out. You can do it on your own time, but you need to get everything done by next Tuesday at 5 p.m. So this is Professor White signing off. I will see you again in video form, and I look forward to meeting you in person on the 21st, 2 weeks from now in the classroom. See you soon. Bye-bye.